A broke single dad pays without thinking. The stranger? A billionaire in disguise, running a secret kindness test. At first it's sweet, until power pushes back. A whisper from a little boy hints at a hidden father and a dangerous lie. Suddenly, a fake video smears the dad, a dream scholarship freezes, and a storm hits the town as rumors explode. The billionaire must choose people over PR, while the dad fights to protect his child and his name. Small town, big stakes. One quiet act of mercy versus a machine built on money and fear. Can one cup of coffee expose the truth and save a family, or will power crush kindness before the truth comes out? Before we get into the story, comment below where in the world you are watching from today. The morning sun climbed higher as Jay wrestled with the warped hinge on First Baptist's side door. Paint flaked under his grip, revealing decades of coastal weather beating against the wood. He'd already replaced the screws twice this year, but the frame itself had shifted, the whole building settling into sand like everything else in Harbor Point eventually did. There we go. The door swung smooth and silent. Jay tested it 3 more times before packing his toolbox. Down at the marina, old Captain Morris waved him over to Bay 7, where the gate mechanism had jammed again. Salt corrosion ate through everything here, locks, hinges, hopes if you let it. Jay sprayed the track with lubricant and worked the gate back and forth until metal surrendered to persistence. You're a miracle worker, Carter. Just doing my job. Cap. Jay loaded his tools into the truck bed. The Carter Repairs stencil on the door faded but still readable. He'd painted it himself 8 years back when he'd started the business, Jasmine steadying the stencil while baby Maya played with paintbrushes at their feet. From across the marina lot, a figure watched. The woman from the coffee shop, Addie, stood beside a rental sedan, one hand shading her eyes. She'd changed into jeans and a simple cotton shirt, but something in her posture still seemed out of place, like she was learning how to occupy space differently than before. Jay didn't notice her. He was already backing out, mind on the afternoon's work, Mrs. Henderson's leaky faucet, then school pickup at 3:30 sharp. Maya hated when he was late. Addie waited until his truck turned onto Harbor Road before approaching where he'd been parked. From her pocket, she pulled a white napkin, the coffee shop's logo printed in the corner, and a single daisy she'd picked from the wildflowers growing beside the marina office. Her handwriting came out careful, deliberate. For your kindness, A. She folded the napkin around the daisy stem and tucked both under his windshield wiper where he'd parked for the church job. The church bells chimed 1 o'clock as Jay returned to grab his invoice book from the truck. He'd left it on the passenger seat again. Maya always teased him about his memory for everything except paperwork. The white napkin fluttered against his windshield. Jay pulled it free, the daisy tumbling into his palm. The flower was already wilting in the afternoon heat, petals curling at the edges, but someone had taken time to pick it. He unfolded the napkin and read the message twice. For your kindness, A. The handwriting looked expensive, somehow smooth curves and proper spacing like they taught in those schools Maya dreamed about attending. Jay glanced around the empty lot, then back at the note. A. From this morning. Had to be. He opened his wallet to the spot behind his license where Jasmine smiled out from their last Christmas photo together. She wore the red sweater he'd bought her, the one she'd said made her feel beautiful even when the chemo had taken her hair. Jay slipped the napkin and daisy beside her picture, careful not to bend the petals. Thank you, Lord, for small reminders that what we do matters. The prayer came out barely above a whisper. Help me keep my hands open to give and receive. Amen. 5 minutes later, Pastor Ruth found him still standing there, wallet in hand. You all right, Jay? Yes, ma'am. Just grateful. She patted his shoulder, knowing better than to push. Gratitude's a good place to be. Harbor Point Middle School erupted at 3:30 like it did every day, doors bursting open, kids streaming out in a chaos of backpacks and shouts. Jay waited in the pickup line, engine off to save gas, windows down to catch the breeze. Maya emerged with her choir folder clutched against her chest, navy uniform skirt swishing as she navigated the crowd. She'd grown 3 inches since spring, almost as tall as her mother had been, but still moved with that careful grace Jasmine had passed down, like the world was made of glass. "Hey, baby girl." "Hey, Dad." She climbed in and immediately kicked off her school shoes, wiggling her toes. "Mrs. Morrison kept us late. She says the sopranos are flat on the bridge of Wade in the Water. Not you, though." "Dad?" "What? I'm not allowed to know my daughter has perfect pitch?" Maya rolled her eyes but smiled. They pulled out of the lot and headed up Main Street, passing Dottie's Harbor Cup where the afternoon coffee crowd had already gathered. Through the window, Jay caught a glimpse of someone in a cardigan, but then they were past, climbing the hill toward home. Sarah Chen's mom is hiring a voice coach for her. Private lessons twice a week. Jay's hands tightened on the wheel. "That's nice for Sarah. I'm not asking, Dad. I know we can't. I'm just saying, she's lucky." "You're lucky too. Different kind of lucky." Maya stared out the window as they passed the marina, boats bobbing in their slips. "How was your day?" "Good. Fixed that door at church finally. Cap Morris's gate too. Exciting. Hey, somebody's gotta keep this town from falling apart." He reached over and tugged her braid gently. "Besides, something interesting did happen." "Yeah?" "Someone left me a thank you note. With a flower." Maya perked up. "Who?" "Don't know. Just signed A. Maybe you have a secret admirer." Maya Grace Carter. "What? You're not that old, Dad. And you're handsome." Keisha's mom said so at the bake sale. Jay felt heat creep up his neck. "We're not having this conversation." "Fine." But Maya grinned as they pulled into the narrow space behind Tillman's Hardware. Their apartment waited above 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and a kitchen just big enough for both of them to cook together without bumping elbows. Home. The laptop screen cast blue light across their small living room as Pastor Ruth's face appeared, warm and familiar, even through pixels. Maya curled into the corner of their worn couch, homework abandoned on the coffee table. Jay settled beside her with 2 mugs of chamomile tea, Jasmine's evening ritual they'd kept alive. "Good evening, Harbor Point family." Pastor Ruth adjusted her reading glasses. "Tonight's reading comes from James. Faith without works is dead. But I want to flip that around. Sometimes our works, our daily labor, that is our faith in action." Maya sipped her tea, steam fogging her glasses. The devotional ran exactly 10 minutes every weeknight. Pastor Ruth knew her flock had dishes to wash and kids to put to bed. The work of our hands matters. Fixing a fence, making a meal, showing up when you'd rather stay home. These aren't separate from worship, they are worship. Jay thought of the church door that finally hung straight, the squeak gone from its hinges. "Let's pray. Lord, help us see you in the ordinary. In the hammer and the broom, the spreadsheet and the schoolwork, make our service an offering. Amen. Amen." Maya and Jay echoed. The screen went dark. Maya stretched, joints popping. "You should run through those 2 verses tonight," Jay said, "just twice through. Save his eye is on the sparrow for tomorrow when your voice is fresh. Mrs. Morrison wants them perfect by Thursday. They don't have to be perfect. Just honest." Maya gathered her music folder. "Same thing in choir. No, baby girl, perfect is fear talking. Honest is love talking." She studied him for a moment, then headed to her room. Soon, her clear soprano floated through the thin walls, tentative at first, then stronger. Jay washed their mugs, humming harmony under his breath. 20 minutes away, in a converted pool house behind the Hale Estate's main mansion, Addison hunched over her laptop. The space was deliberately modest, 1 room, 1 bathroom, basic furniture, the kind of place where staff might stay. Perfect for disappearing in plain sight. She pulled up Dottie's Harbor Cup's payment system first. The cafe used an old-school digital register that tracked tabs for regulars. The outstanding balance showed 847.32 across 17 names, fishermen who paid when boats came in, teachers who settled up on paydays. Addison cleared them all with 3 clicks, routing payment through a shell LLC called Community Holdings. Next, the church pantry. Their donation page hadn't been updated since 2019, still featuring a photo of the previous pastor. She pushed through 50 marked. For immediate needs, no acknowledgement needed. The leather journal beside her laptop fell open to today's entry. Her handwriting filled half a page already. Monday morning test results. Counter customer, male 50s, hostile to perceived outsider. Cashier, embarrassed but rule-bound, Jeremiah Carter. Immediate action, no hesitation. Refused repayment. She added a new line. Carter repairs check community center connection. Man understands infrastructure plus people. Rare combination. The Hale Foundation had poured millions into Harbor Point over the years. New computers for the schools. Marina improvements. The gleaming health clinic that locals couldn't afford to visit. All of it wearing the foundation's name like a brand. But the community center boarded up for 3 years now. That felt different. That could be something built with the town, not for it. Addison closed the laptop and moved to the window. Beyond the pool house, the main estate sprawled like something from a magazine, all glass and right angles. Spencer had called it architectural magnificence when he'd arranged its purchase. She called it a fortress. Tomorrow she'd go back into town, maybe stop by the hardware store, see how people acted when they thought nobody important was watching. Maya's door stood cracked open, her bedside lamp creating a soft triangle of light across the hallway floor. Jay knocked softly. "Come in." She'd changed into pajamas, flannel pants, and an old navy shirt of his that hung to her knees. The choir folder lay closed on her desk. "Ready for prayers?" She nodded, scooting over on the bed. Jay sat on the edge, the mattress creaking. They joined hands, Maya's fingers still slightly sticky from the honey she'd stirred into her tea for her throat. "You want to start tonight?" "Okay." Maya closed her eyes. "Dear Lord, thank you for this day, thank you for Dad, and for music, and for Pastor Ruth. Please help Mrs. Chen's car get fixed so Sarah doesn't have to miss practice. And help me not be scared on Thursday. Amen. Amen." Jay squeezed her hands gently. "Lord, make our hands open, open to give what we have, open to receive what we need. Help us see you in everyone we meet tomorrow. Watch over this town, this home, this girl, in Jesus' name. Amen." Maya slipped under her covers. Jay kissed her forehead, catching the scent of the coconut oil she used on her braids. "Love you, baby girl. Love you too, Dad." Back in his room, Jay emptied his pockets onto the dresser: keys, phone, $3 in worn bills. He pulled out his wallet last, opening it to check tomorrow's schedule written on a hardware store receipt. The daisy had dried completely now, pressed flat between the napkin and Jasmine's photo. He touched the flower gently, then closed the wallet and set his alarm for 5:45. Through his window, he could see a single light burning in one of the estate's outbuildings up on the hill. Probably maintenance staff. Rich folks always had someone working late, keeping their perfect world perfect. Jay pulled the blinds and settled into bed, already running through tomorrow's tasks. The marina gate that wouldn't latch, 3 loose boards on the pier. Good honest work that would leave the world a little more solid than he'd found it. The town clock chimed 11. Somewhere across Harbor Point, Addison set her own alarm, already planning which thrift store cardigan to wear tomorrow. Tuesday morning brought thick fog off the harbor, the kind that turned Harbor Point into a watercolor painting. Jay arrived at Dottie's at 6:30, toolbox in the truck for whatever the day might bring. The cafe hummed with its usual crowd, fishermen heading out, nurses coming off night shift, the high school principal nursing black coffee before facing teenagers. Jay grabbed his regular spot at the counter, nodding to folks he knew. In the corner booth, half hidden behind a potted fern, sat Addie. Same thrift store cardigan, this one forest green. A notebook lay open beside her coffee, her pen moving across the page in neat lines. Their eyes met. She raised her mug slightly, a greeting, an invitation. Jay picked up his coffee and walked over. "Mind if I sit a minute?" "Please." She gestured to the opposite bench. Up close, he noticed her notebook contained sketches of the cafe, the vintage register, the boat photos on the walls, rough floor plans with measurements. "Architecture hobby?" Something like that." She closed the notebook casually. "I wanted to thank you again, properly this time. Yesterday was. We all have those days." Still. Her fingers wrapped around her mug. That kind of kindness, when you don't know someone, when there's nothing in it for you, it matters more than you know. Before Jay could respond, Dottie appeared at his shoulder. "Jay Carter, thank the Lord you're here. This ice machine's got opinions again, making sounds like a cat in a thunderstorm." Jay stood immediately. "Let me take a look." The ice machine sat behind the counter, a 20-year-old workhorse that Dottie refused to replace. Jay knelt beside it, listening to its labored breathing, then popped the front panel. "When's the last time you changed the water filter?" "There's a water filter?" Jay shone his penlight inside. "Inlet valves clogged solid. No wonder she's complaining. I can grab parts after lunch, have her running smooth by 2. "You're a saint." Dottie patted his shoulder. "Coffee's on me this week. Already paid for," Jay said, standing. "All the tabs, actually. Somebody cleared them yesterday." Dottie's eyebrows shot up. "All of them? Even Bobby Fischer's from last month?" "Every penny." She glanced around the cafe, suspicious and pleased in equal measure. "Well, I'll be." Jay returned to Addie's booth, brushing dust off his knees. She'd opened her notebook again, sketching the coffee machine from memory. "You're good at that," he said. "Practice." She set down her pen. "Actually, I might need some of your expertise. There's an old place up on Bayview, beautiful bones, but the fence is rusted through and the deck railings are loose. We're having a small event next week, and I'd hate for someone to lean wrong and end up in the azaleas." "Bayview?" Jay knew the area, old money houses with ocean views. "I do on-site estimates. Could come by late afternoon today or tomorrow morning." "Tomorrow morning would be perfect. 9 o'clock?" She pulled out her phone, typing quickly. "I'll let the gatehouse know. Just tell them you're expected." She wrote a number on a napkin. "That's my to assistant's line. In case you need to reschedule. 9 o'clock tomorrow." Jay pocketed the napkin. "I'll bring my measuring tape." The hardware store smelled like sawdust and possibility. Jay collected parts for Dottie's ice machine inlet valve, water filter, a new gasket, while his phone buzzed in his pocket. Maya calling from school lunch. Dad, check your email right now." "Everything okay?" "Just check." He opened his email one-handed, balancing the phone against his shoulder. There it was, official Hale Charter letterhead. "Dear Ms. Maya Carter, we are pleased to invite you to audition for the Hale Foundation Scholarship Program this Friday, November 15th at 5:00 p.m. Jay's throat tightened. He typed back 3 applause emojis and, "We'll be there." "Proud of you, baby girl." Maya's squeal carried through the phone before she hung up, probably to tell her friends. Earl, behind the register, grinned. "Good news?" "The best." Maya got her audition slot. "That girl's going places. Voice like an angel." Earl rang up the parts. "Though angels probably don't get stage fright. She's working on it." Jay returned to Dottie's, tools in hand. The lunch crowd had thinned, making it easier to work. Addie's booth sat empty, but her coffee mug remained, still half full. The inlet valve came free with some coaxing. Years of mineral buildup had narrowed the flow to a trickle. Jay cleaned it thoroughly, installed the new filter, and ran 2 test cycles. The machine purred like it had found religion. "Listen to that," Dottie marveled. "Sounds brand new. Just needed someone to pay attention." Jay packed his tools. "She'll give you another 20 years if you change that filter every 6 months. That evening, Jay laid out his good work shirts on the bed. The navy polo for tomorrow, professional but not trying too hard. Maya practiced scales in her room, voice floating through the thin walls. He wrote Hale Estate Bayview on a sticky note and attached it to his keys. Tomorrow's estimate felt bigger, somehow, though he couldn't say why. Maybe because Bayview meant real money. Maybe because Addie had asked specifically for him. At the estate's gatehouse, a security guard made notes in his log. Carter repairs Wed 9:0 a.m. He uploaded Jay's information into the system, adding him to tomorrow's approved visitor list. 1 mile away, Jay helped Maya with her breathing exercises, both of them counting beats between inhales. Friday felt far away and too close all at once. The Bayview estate gate opened smoothly at 9 sharp. Jay followed the curved drive past centuries-old oaks draped in Spanish moss, their branches forming a natural cathedral above the gravel. The main house emerged gradually, white columns, wraparound porches, windows that caught the morning light like mirrors. He parked his truck near the service entrance, grabbed his clipboard and measuring tape. The back door stood open, releasing the scent of lemon polish and fresh coffee. "Mr. Carter?" Addie appeared in the doorway, arms full of folded linens. She wore khakis and a simple blue shirt, blending seamlessly with the household staff. "Thank you for coming. Let me show you the problem areas." The gallery landing came first. Jay tested the banister, feeling it shift under pressure. 3 of the mounting brackets had worked loose from the wall, a genuine hazard, especially with visitors coming. "This needs immediate attention," he said, marking measurements. "Someone leans wrong, they're going through." Addie set down the linens, watching him work. "The foundation board does their annual walkthrough tomorrow at 2. Think you can manage it?" "I can have this solid by noon tomorrow if I start at 10. They moved to the deck. The railing overlooking the marsh wobbled dangerously, posts rotted at the base where moisture had crept in over decades. Jay knelt, probing the wood with his pocket knife. "These posts need replacing. I can sister new ones alongside for now. Make it safe for tomorrow. Then come back for the full repair next week. Whatever keeps people from taking a tumble into the marsh." The back door stuck halfway open, frame swollen from humidity. Jay made notes planing needed, possibly new weather stripping. 30 minutes of work at most. A car door slammed in the front drive. Expensive shoes clicked across marble, then a man's voice carried through the house. "Where's Elena? These folders need organizing before tomorrow." Spencer Ward rounded the corner, all sharp edges and impatience. His suit probably cost more than Jay's monthly rent. He took in Jay's work clothes and clipboard with a brief, dismissive glance. "You're the repair guy?" Jay Carter, assessing the vendor's park behind the service shed. "We can't have trucks cluttering the main drive during board visits." Jay kept his expression neutral. "No problem. I'll move it." Spencer had already turned away, calling for Elena. She appeared from the kitchen, wiping her hands on her apron. "These need collating." Spencer dropped a stack of folders on the hall table. "Board packets. 12 copies, spiral bound." "See, Mr. Ward." He disappeared upstairs without another word. Elena gathered the folders with practiced efficiency while Addie watched from the doorway, jaw tight. "Come eat something," Elena said once Spencer's footsteps faded. "You can't work hungry." The kitchen table was scarred oak, worn smooth by generations of meals. Elena had laid out empanadas, still warm, alongside fresh salsa and lime wedges. Jay spread his sketches between the plates, explaining options and costs. The banister's straightforward new brackets, maybe reinforced with a steel plate behind the mounting points. 4 hours, including paint touch-up. He pointed to his deck diagram. "The railing's trickier. Temporary fix tomorrow. Full replacement next week. Your prices are very fair," Addie said, studying the numbers. Elena leaned over to look. "My cousin charges twice that for deck work. Then your cousin's overcharging." Jay took a bite of empanada, savoring the seasoned beef and flaky crust. "This is incredible, by the way." "My mother's recipe." Elena smiled. I make them every— Elena. Spencer's voice cut through the kitchen. He stood in the doorway, eyes cold. I need you upstairs. The linen closets are a disaster. I just organized them yesterday, then organized them again. And stick to housekeeping, please. We're not paying you to socialize. Elena's cheeks darkened, but she rose without argument. Jay noticed how her hands trembled slightly as she cleared her plate. Addie's knuckles had gone white around her coffee mug. After Elena left, Spencer addressed Jay without looking at him. Invoice goes to the foundation office. We pay net 30. Understood. Spencer strode out. Through the window, Jay watched him climb into a Mercedes, phone already pressed to his ear. He always like that? Jay asked quietly. Pretty much. Addie's voice was flat. Though he's worse when the board's coming. Jay finished his measurements, confirmed Thursday's schedule, and moved his truck to the service area as instructed. The drive home felt longer, weighted by the morning's small cruelties. That evening, he boiled spaghetti, while Maya set the table. She'd been humming all afternoon, her audition piece threading through their small apartment like hope. Remember, I'll pick you up at 3:30 Friday. Jay said, serving the pasta. Give us plenty of time to get there. What if I mess up? What if my voice cracks? Then you keep singing. Judges care more about heart than perfection. Maya twirled her fork, unconvinced. Easy for you to say. You don't have to stand up there alone. No, but I'll be right there in the audience. Third row center, like always. She managed a small smile. Promise? Promise. They cleared the dishes together, Maya washing while Jay dried. Through the kitchen window, Harbor Point's lights reflected off the water, each one a small promise against the darkness. The grandfather clock in the gallery chimed twice, its deep tone echoing through the estate. Jay swept sawdust from the freshly repaired landing while staff scattered to their final positions before the board's arrival. 2 housekeepers polished already gleaming surfaces. A caterer adjusted silver trays for the 10th time. Elena knelt in the corridor, tying Nico's sneaker with practiced care. Remember, be good for Tia Rosa. Help with the baby. I know, Mama. Spencer Ward's voice carried from the main hall, sharp and impatient on his phone call. No, the quarterly projections go in section 3. How hard is that to— He strode past them without slowing, Italian leather shoes clicking against marble. Nico watched him pass, then tugged at Spencer's sleeve. Mommy says you're my daddy. The words hung in the air like a struck bell. Spencer froze mid-step. The security guard by the door turned. Jay's broom stilled. Elena's face drained of color. Nico, no. Spencer yanked his arm away, phone still pressed to his ear. That's ridiculous. This child is confused. His eyes found the security guard. Why are staff children wandering the halls? Keep them out of sight. He's not wandering. Jay set down his broom and stepped forward, voice calm but firm. No call to talk to a child like that? Spencer's jaw clenched. This doesn't concern you. Maybe not. But basic decency concerns everyone. Elena had pulled Nico against her, both hands on his small shoulders. The boy pressed into her uniform, confused by the sudden tension. Down the hall, Addie stood frozen in a doorway, lunch tray forgotten in her hands. Through the windows, black SUVs crunched up the gravel drive. They're here. Spencer straightened his tie, dismissing them all with a look. Elena, take the day, don't return until called, but tomorrow's event— Did I stutter? Go. Elena lifted Nico, his legs wrapping around her waist. She met Jay's eyes for a moment, gratitude mixed with resignation, then hurried toward the service exit. Spencer strode toward the front door, transforming his expression into a practiced smile. Showtime, he muttered to the security guard. Jay finished sweeping in silence, the morning's easy rhythm shattered. He returned his visitor badge to the security desk, where the guard avoided eye contact. Outside, Elena struggled to buckle Nico into her sister's borrowed car seat, hands shaking. Need help? She glanced up, tears threatening. No, thank you for speaking up. Anyone decent would have. You'd be surprised how few anyone decents work here." She managed the buckle, then closed the door softly. Nico watched them through the window, thumb in his mouth. "Can I give you a ride somewhere? Rosa's expecting us." Elena pulled her purse strap higher. "Mr. Carter J., what you did. Nobody's ever stood between Spencer and his anger before." "Not for me. Man shouldn't talk to anyone that way, especially not a child. He's been careful, never admitted anything, never wrote anything down. Just monthly cash in an envelope, like I'm some kind of—" She stopped herself. "I should go." "Elena!" Jay pulled a business card from his wallet. "You ever need anything, repair work, reference letter, someone to just listen, you call." She took the card with both hands, like something precious. "Your daughter's lucky. I'm the lucky one." Elena drove away slowly, Nico's small hand pressed against the back window in a wave. That evening, Jay stirred beef stew while Maya practiced scales in her room. The notes climbed and descended, searching for stability. "Dad?" She appeared in the kitchen doorway. "Something wrong? You've been quiet." He considered how much to share. Maya was old enough to know the world had sharp edges, young enough to deserve protection from the worst of them. "Saw something today that bothered me. A man with power being cruel to people without it." "What did you do?" "Spoke up. Not sure it helped much." Maya moved to the stove, lifting the lid to smell the stew. "Pastor Ruth says speaking up plants seeds, even if we don't see them grow." "Pastor Ruth's a smart woman. Was it at that big house? The one where Ms. Elena works?" Jay nodded. "She seems nice. Nico too. He showed me his dinosaur collection at the church picnic. Good people." Jay ladled stew into bowls. "Sometimes good people end up in hard situations." They ate quietly, the weight of unspoken worries filling the space between them. Maya's audition was tomorrow. The scholarship could change everything: better school, more opportunities, a chance to grow her gift. "Dad, you'll still be there tomorrow, right? At the audition?" "Wouldn't miss it. Even if that man's there, the mean one." Jay reached across the table, squeezed her hand. "People in charge sometimes forget kindness, baby. When that happens, we answer with character. We show up anyway." Across town, Addie sat at her guesthouse desk, estate grounds dark beyond her window. She'd replayed the corridor scene 20 times, each viewing making her stomach clench tighter. Spencer's cruelty, Elena's humiliation. Jay stepping forward like goodness itself, refusing to let ugliness pass unchallenged. And Nico's innocent words, cutting through every carefully constructed lie. She opened her laptop, began typing a resignation letter, then deleted it. Running wouldn't help Elena or Nico. It wouldn't undo what Spencer had built, a kingdom of intimidation dressed in foundation rhetoric. Tomorrow, she decided, tomorrow she'd find Jay, tell him everything, who she really was. Why she'd been pretending, what she intended to do about Spencer Ward and his poison. She pulled her mother's diary from the desk drawer, found a pressed daisy between its pages. Her mother had believed in truth-telling, even when it cost everything. Addie taped the daisy to a fresh piece of paper and wrote, "Time to stop hiding." The clock read midnight when she finally switched off the lamp. Tomorrow would bring confessions and consequences. But tonight, she finally knew which side she stood on. Spencer's voice cut through the morning bustle like a blade. "Well, this is interesting." He stood in the doorway with 2 board members, gray-haired men in golf attire who'd clearly been pulled from their Friday leisure. One whispered something about optics, while the other stared at Addie like she'd grown a second head. "Just getting coffee, Ward." Addie's voice stayed level. "Of course." Spencer's smile could have frozen the harbor. "Though I'm surprised you'd come all the way to town when the estate has perfectly good coffee. Sometimes it's nice to see how real people live." Jay stood slowly, deliberately, meeting Spencer's gaze. "Real people." Spencer repeated the words like they tasted sour. How refreshing. The board members shifted uncomfortably. The taller one cleared his throat. Miss Hale, we should discuss the quarterly review. Monday's fine, Charles. Actually, it's not. Spencer pulled out his phone with theatrical precision. Given recent developments, an emergency session seems prudent. 1 o'clock today. Dottie appeared with a coffee carrier. 3 black coffees to go. That'll be $12.50. Spencer handed her a 20 without looking at her, without waiting for change. His eyes never left Addie's face. 1 o'clock. Don't be late. They left, but their presence lingered like smoke. Addie's phone buzzed before the door finished closing. An email, marked urgent, with attachments. She opened it while Jay watched, his jaw tightening as she read aloud the key points. PR firewall protocol, effective immediately. Board members and senior staff prohibited from personal contact with grant recipients or service providers during active funding cycles. Her voice caught. Violation results in immediate suspension of discretionary spending authority. They're boxing you in. There's more. She scrolled down. HR directive. Address and neutralize any reputational risks arising from staff speculation or unfounded allegations. Meaning, Elena. Meaning they'll destroy her if she speaks up. Addie's hands trembled. God, Jay, I've been such a fool. Playing dress-up while real people. Her phone buzzed again. She frowned at the unknown number, then showed Jay the text. Mr. Carter, you've been a valued contractor. Would hate to see professional repercussions from inserting yourself where you don't belong. Some battles aren't yours to fight. Jay pulled out his own phone. Same message. He's threatening you now. Addie's voice turned fierce. Because you defended Elena. Man scared. Scared people do stupid things. We have to stop him. You said it yourself, character matters. I've been hiding behind anonymity while people like Spencer hurt people like Elena. No more. Outside, Harbor Point's morning traffic moved in familiar patterns. Fishermen heading to the marina. Parents dropping kids at school. Normal life, unaware of the storm building. What's your plan? Jay checked his watch, 10:47 a.m. I go to that meeting. Tell them exactly what I witnessed. Demand accountability. They'll crucify you. Maybe. But Elena needs someone with power to say her truth matters. And if they suspend your authority, cut you off from your own foundation? Addie met his eyes. Then I'll find another way. My mother started with nothing but conviction. I can do the same. Jay studied her face, weighing something. Maya's audition is at 5. I'm picking her up at 3:30. She'll be brilliant. Point is, I keep my promises, especially to her. But after, he paused. After, if you need backup at that board meeting, or whatever comes next, you call. You don't even know me. Not really. I know enough. You stood in that corridor yesterday, saw wrong being done. Today you're choosing to fight it. That's character. They stood to leave. Dottie intercepted them at the door, voice low. Jay, honey, need you to know there's talk. Some folks saying you staged that coffee thing Monday, planned it to meet money. Heat crept up Jay's neck. Dottie, I don't believe a word, and I've told everyone who'll listen. But whispers travel fast in Harbor Point. Let them whisper. Jay's voice carried quiet steel. We'll meet gossip with what we do, how we live. Dottie squeezed his shoulder. That's why you're one of the good ones. On the sidewalk, morning sun caught the harbor's surface like scattered coins. Addie turned to Jay one last time. Truth first, optics second. Only way to sleep at night. They'll come at you harder. Your contracts, reputation, been through worse. Buried my wife, raised my girl alone. Spencer Ward doesn't scare me. He should. Men like him destroy people for sport. Maybe, but I've got something he doesn't. What's that? Nothing left to lose except my integrity. And that's not for sale. Addie wanted to say more about courage, about gratitude, about the strange sense of recognition she felt looking at him. Instead, she simply nodded. 1 o'clock, I face the board. 3:30, you get Maya. 5 o'clock, she sings. And after that? Jay almost smiled. After that, we see what seeds got planted. They parted ways, Addie toward the estate and its waiting ambush, Jay toward his truck and the promise he'd made to his daughter. Behind them, Dottie watched through the window and whispered a prayer for battles she could feel coming. The clock above the harbor showed 11:15. In less than 2 hours, everything would change. Jay pulled into the pickup lane at Harbor Point High at 3:25, 10 minutes early as always. The afternoon sun slanted through the truck's windshield, warming the cracked dashboard. He watched students stream out, backpacks bouncing, voices rising in weekend anticipation. Maya emerged at 3:32, choir folder clutched against her chest. She'd changed into her good blouse, the one with tiny flowers that Jasmine had picked out years ago. Still fit, mostly. Ready, baby girl? My stomach feels like hummingbirds. She buckled in, fingers already finding the folder's edge. That's normal. Means it matters. As they merged into traffic, Jay chose his words carefully. Need to tell you something. There's been some trouble at the Hale estate. People making rules about who can talk to who. Because of what happened yesterday with Elena's son. Smart girl. Jay nodded. Adults sometimes make rules to look good instead of doing good. But here's what we control: how we respond. With kindness. With excellence. Like Mom used to say. Let your life be your argument. Exactly like that. Maya pulled out a straw from her folder. Mrs. Chen taught us this exercise. For warming up. She demonstrated the technique, humming through the straw while doing scales. The weird buzzing filled the truck cab. Sounds like a kazoo convention. Dad! But she smiled, tension easing from her shoulders. The Hale Charter School gleamed like a promised glass and steel, catching late afternoon light. They arrived at 4:10, 20 minutes before Maya's slot. The parking lot held mostly newer cars, SUVs with perfect paint jobs. We belong here much as anyone, Jay said quietly. I know. Maya's voice came out smaller than intended. At check-in, a woman with reading glasses handed Maya a stick-on label. A17. Audition room B, down the hall. Parents wait here. Jay squeezed Maya's shoulder. Lord, give her peace. Give her joy in the music. Let her voice be true. Amen, Maya whispered, then walked toward her future. At 4:55, movement caught Jay's peripheral vision. Addie slipped through the main doors, choosing a seat 3 rows back, close enough to witness, far enough not to distract. She gave him the slightest nod. Other parents filled the lobby, some scrolling phones, others making small talk about SAT prep and summer programs. Jay kept his eyes on the hallway where Maya had disappeared. At 5:08, her voice floated through the walls, faint but unmistakable. When you're weary, feeling small. The tremor hit on small, but Maya pushed through, finding her center. When tears are in your eyes, I will dry them all. Stronger now. The girl who sang while washing dishes, who hummed during homework, who'd learned harmony at her mother's knee, that girl showed up. The sight-reading portion followed, no words to carry her, just notes on a page transformed to sound. Jay couldn't tell if she nailed it, but he heard her trying. Silence. Then, muffled voices, judges conferring. Maya emerged at 5:18, eyes bright with unshed tears. Could be joy, could be disappointment. Hard to tell with teenagers. How'd it go? I didn't run. I didn't freeze. I sang the whole thing. That's my girl. The judge, a thin man with kind eyes, addressed the remaining families. Results will post Monday, 10 a.m. on the parent portal. Thank you all for sharing your gifts today. Outside by the fountain, Addie waited. The evening had turned golden, that particular coastal light that made everything look blessed. Maya, you were wonderful. I could hear your breath control from the lobby, steady and supported. You were there? Wouldn't miss it. Though I suspect you didn't need an audience. You sang for the music itself. Maya beamed, the first full smile Jay had seen all week. "Hungry?" he asked. "Dottie's makes grilled cheese worth writing home about." The Harbor Cup hummed with Friday evening comfort. Dottie herself worked the register, apron dusted with flour. She lit up seeing them. The Carter family +1, booth in the back just opened. Over grilled cheese and tomato soup, the weight of the week settled around them. Maya talked about her English essay. Jay listened with half an ear, watching Addie navigate casual conversation like she was learning a new language. Dottie stopped by with coffee refills. "Jay, honey, need you to know few folks still running their mouths online, saying you planned Monday's coffee thing. I'm deleting every nasty comment on our page, but the internet's got a long memory. Let them talk." "That's not right," Maya protested. "Dad helps everyone. He fixed Mrs. Chen's car door for free. Easy, baby girl. People believe what they want." Addie set down her spoon. "What if we gave them something better to believe in?" "Meaning, Sunday, we organize a kindness chain, anonymous good deeds all over town, no photos, no credit, just mercy in motion." Dottie's face transformed. "Like a barn raising, but for spirits." "Exactly." They sketched rough plans on napkins, coffee paid forward, groceries delivered unmarked, marina repairs that just happened to get done, small mercies accumulating like morning dew. "No cameras," Jay emphasized, "no social media victories. Just neighbors being neighbors." "The way it used to be," Dottie agreed. "Before we needed proof of every good deed." At 7:15, they parted ways in the parking lot. Maya hugged Addie, quick and surprising. "Thanks for coming today. Thank you for singing." Jay loaded Maya into the truck, catching Addie's eye over the hood. She had that look again, determined and terrified in equal measure. "Get some rest?" he called out. "Tomorrow's another day." "Another battle, you mean?" "Those two." Addie drove toward Bayview to draft her final board strategy. Jay headed home with Maya, who hummed softly in the passenger seat, not nervously now, but contentedly, like someone who'd faced their fear and lived to sing about it. The downtown legal clinic occupied a narrow storefront between a dry cleaner and a vacant travel agency. Addie held the door while Elena maneuvered Nico's stroller through, the boy clutching his library book about ocean animals. Attorney Marisol Vega rose from behind a desk, stacked with color-coded folders. Mid-40s, silver threading through black hair, pulled into a neat bun. She offered Elena her hand first, then Addie's. "Ms. Ruiz, I've reviewed the preliminary information. Please, sit. Would Nico like some crayons?" He brought his book, but thank you. Marisol's office felt like ordered hope certificates on one wall, children's thank you drawings on another. She pulled out fresh legal pads, uncapped a pen. "Before we begin, I need to clarify relationships. Ms. Hale, you're here as support, and to cover any costs. But this is Elena's decision entirely." Elena straightened. "She's here because I asked her." "Good. Then let's discuss options." Marisol outlined 3 paths. Petition HR for safe reporting procedures, independent of management, request court-approved paternity testing, and document any retaliation with timestamps and witnesses. Each word deliberate, unhurried. If Mr. Ward is Nico's biological father, you could pursue child support. However, that would likely become public record. Elena's hand found Nico's head, smoothing his hair. "I don't want my son in newspapers or online. He didn't ask for any of this." "Understandable. We can request sealed proceedings citing the child's welfare. No guarantees, but judges often protect minors." "What about my job?" "Termination after filing a claim would constitute retaliation. I'll file a protective notice Monday morning before any test results." They worked through forms methodically. Nico colored a whale purple, occasionally showing Elena his progress. At 10:47, Marisol scheduled the lab appointment. Monday, 2:00 p.m. at Coastal Medical, the court-approved facility. "One more thing," Marisol said. "Ms. Ruiz, you're very brave. This isn't easy. I'm tired of being scared in my own life." Outside, the morning had warmed. Nico pointed at seagulls wheeling overhead. Elena lifted him from the stroller, let him walk. "Thank you," she told Addie, "for not trying to fix everything yourself. I'm learning that real help means stepping back sometimes." Harbor lumber smelled of sawdust and possibility. Jay guided Maya through aisles of wood, teaching her to check for warping, to feel for splinters. "These offcuts are perfect. Mrs. Bellamy needs maybe 4 feet of ramp. Mr. Torres, 6 feet." Maya did math on her phone. $40 for both if we use the discount pine, plus screws and labor. "Your labor's free, Dad." "Time's never free, baby girl. But sometimes we invest it instead of spend it." They loaded the truck bed carefully. Maya insisted on carrying the smaller boards herself. Jay noticed her checking grain patterns like he'd taught her. Their next stop, Fellowship Baptist for hymn sheets. Maya selected carefully Amazing Grace, How Great Thou Art, songs everyone knew by heart. Pastor Ruth appeared from her office, reading glasses perched on her nose. "Stealing my music, Maya Carter?" "Borrowing Pastor Ruth for tomorrow's sing-along." "Good." Music belongs in the streets as much as sanctuaries. Across town, Addie stood in line at 3 different grocery stores, buying gift cards in small batches to avoid attention. $20 each, enough to help, not so much as to embarrass. The teenager at the 3rd register counted them twice. 50 cards? Someone's birthday? Something like that. She labeled envelopes in her car, careful block letters, "From a neighbor." No flourishes, nothing traceable to her usual handwriting. The church kitchen steamed with purpose. 8 women and 2 men assembled casseroles in aluminum pans, chicken and rice, shepherd's pie, the kinds of meals that could stretch. Jay repaired a wobbling prep table while they worked. "Heard there's some fuss about you and that estate lady, Mrs. Washington mentioned, not unkindly." "Heard that too." "Well, I also heard you paid for her coffee when she came up short." "That sounds like the Jay Carter I know." At the marina, the retired nurse Barb set up her blood pressure station under a pop-up tent. Jay reinforced her table legs, added sandbags for wind stability. "Checking vitals for free? Preventive care is cheaper than emergency rooms. Plus, fishermen are stubborn about doctors." Mrs. Bellamy watched from her window as Jay built her porch ramp. Maya held board steady, learning to anticipate what tool he'd need next. "I'll pay monthly," Mrs. Bellamy called out. Jay climbed the steps, showed her the invoice he'd prepared. Donated, stamped across the total. Already paid for. By who? Someone who believes in neighbors. That evening, Jay's apartment smelled of cinnamon and peaches, Dottie's cobbler warming in the oven. Maya set the table with their good plates, the ones usually saved for holidays. "Why fancy dishes?" "Because we're celebrating." "What exactly?" She considered. "Getting through the week, still being ourselves." They ate slowly, savoring Dottie's gift. Jay talked through Sunday's timeline: dawn at the marina, church kitchen by 7, pop-up spots mapped by 9. Maya would coordinate the youth group, managing hymn distribution. "Dad, what if people say we're showing off? Then we're doing it wrong." Real kindness whispers. They cleaned dishes together, Maya washing, Jay drying. Their evening prayer felt fuller somehow, not asking for much, just offering thanks for enough. 3 miles away, Addie typed carefully, each word of her board memo weighted. "The kindness chain represents community-led governance in action. All outcomes will be anonymized. No photo opportunities, no naming rights. Foundation support should amplify existing compassion, not create it." Attached find receipts for all expenditures, documented impact projections, and a proposal for quarterly community-selected review boards. She added spreadsheets, citations, a timeline, everything the board claimed to want, delivered without fanfare. At 10:17, she hit send. At 10:30, lights went out across Harbor Point, alarms set for dawn. Sunday would come like it always did, full of possibility and peril in equal measure. The lunch rush at Dottie's Harbor Cup moved differently this Sunday. Each time someone reached for their wallet, another hand would already be extended. Bills quietly passed to Dottie with a nod toward a stranger's table. "Mark it, KC," became the afternoon's refrain. Dottie's ledger filled with careful tick marks. KC, 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 each one a small mercy logged but not advertised. She kept the book open on the counter where folks could see the tally growing. Captain Morris, weathered hands shaking slightly, pressed $60 into Dottie's palm. 3 lunches forward. Would have been Eileen's birthday today? She'd have loved this, Cap. She always said the best gift was one you didn't see coming. At the marina, Maya helped distribute hymn sheets while the youth group set up folding chairs. An older woman, retired English teacher, Maya remembered, pressed a folded paper into her hand. "You sang earlier?" "Yes, ma'am. Your voice made breathing easier today." Maya unfolded the note later, finding the same words written in careful cursive, plus, "Never stop singing, child. The world needs voices that remember beauty." Jay worked the docks, helping secure boats ahead of the evening's predicted wind. He noticed Addie carrying water bottles to the volunteer crews, her movements efficient but unobtrusive. They crossed paths near the bait shop. Ledgers filling up. Good. That means it's working. You could take credit, you know. Nobody would fault you. Credit's exactly what would break this. The minute my name's on it, it becomes about me instead of them. By 3:30, Maple Street transformed. Extension cords snaked between houses, string lights creating a canopy of small stars. Card tables appeared from garages, covered with mismatched tablecloths that somehow looked perfect together. Elena arrived balancing a massive pot of arroz con pollo, Nico bouncing beside her with paper plates. She'd cooked for 40, she said, remembering church potlucks from her childhood where running out of food was the only real sin. Nico helped season it, she told Maya. He's very particular about sofrito. Mom says I have Grandma's tongue for spices, Nico announced. Dottie's nephew, Marcus, wheeled in a speaker system small enough to not dominate but clear enough to carry. He'd DJ'd high school dances, knew how to read a crowd. Started with Motown, easy rhythms everyone could move to. The retired nurse Barb had her blood pressure cuff ready under a pop-up awning. She'd already checked 6 people, prescribed walking and water to most. Prevention's cheaper than problems, she kept saying. A silver sedan crawled past, too slow for normal traffic. Through the passenger window, a phone filmed steadily. Addie recognized Spencer's assistant, memorized the plate number. She texted Addie. Vega quickly. Foundation assistant filming community event. License XRT 4421. Please document surveillance. The reply came swift. Noted. Keep copies of everything. By 6:30, Maple Street hummed with life. Kids chased between tables while adults filled plates, mixed conversations. The light had that golden quality that made everyone look younger, softer. Maya stood near the speaker, microphone in hand. No stage, just a cleared patch of sidewalk. This is the song I sang Friday, but tonight it's not an audition. It's just for us. She began, Bridge over Troubled Water, but this time her voice carried joy instead of nerves. Neighbors stopped mid-bite, mid-sentence. Some swayed. A few wiped eyes. Near the string lights, Jay found Addie holding an untouched plate. You should eat. Watching this feeds something else. The music shifted to something slower, older. Sam Cooke, maybe. Jay extended his hand. One dance? They moved carefully at first, conscious of eyes. But the song was longer than self-consciousness, and soon they just swayed, talking low. I used to bring Jasmine to block parties, Jay said. She loved how the whole street became one big living room. That's what's missing from my foundation work. We fund programs but not. This can't be funded, only encouraged. What about the community center? It's been closed 3 years. Broken pipes, the county said. But really, broken budgets. Addie took the portable mic when the song ended, no fanfare, just stepping into a pause between tracks. Quick announcement. Nothing formal. The Hale Foundation wants to seed a fund community-controlled to reopen the center, local board only. I'm nominating Dottie Pierce, Pastor Ruth, Mrs. Chen from the elementary school. We need 3 more names from you all. No photos tonight, no press releases, just work. Charter draft by Tuesday. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Someone shouted, Dr. Freeman from the clinic. Another voice, Tony, from the marina. Dottie appeared at Addie's elbow. You sure about this? Your board won't like it. Then they'll have to decide what matters more, control or community. By 8:30, the cleanup moved like choreography. Tables folded, lights came down, leftovers distributed to whoever needed Monday's lunch. Elena packed containers for 3 families she knew were struggling. Jay wound extension cords in perfect loops, teaching 2 teenagers the sailor's way to prevent tangles. Maya collected hymn sheets, noting which songs got people singing loudest. Addie stood with Pastor Ruth, reviewing names for the community board. Tuesday evening for the charter meeting? Fellowship hall's yours. Bring copies. No lawyers? Not yet. Let's see what we create before we defend it. By 9:15, Maple Street looked normal again, except for the lingering smell of good food and the echo of laughter in the air. Jay loaded the last folding chair into his truck. Maya sat on the tailgate, feet swinging. Dad? Today felt like Mom would have loved it. She would have been right in the middle, organizing everyone. Think we made a difference? We made a start. Sometimes that's the same thing. They drove home through quiet streets, porch lights beginning to switch off. Monday morning broke gray and humid, the kind of air that promised storms later. At the Hale Foundation's glass tower 40 miles inland, Spencer Ward sat at his desk, composing an email with surgical precision. Subject: Urgent, unsanctioned liability exposure. He attached 12 photos from his assistant's drive-by, each time-stamped and annotated. Unauthorized use of foundation name. No permits visible. Mixed funding sources unclear. Additionally, he typed, Ms. Hale's presence at undocumented community gatherings creates uninsured risk profiles. Recommend immediate cessation pending legal review. Send. Addie's phone buzzed at 10:35. She read Spencer's email twice, then pulled up her laptop at the guesthouse desk. Her response took 15 minutes to craft. She attached Dottie's handwritten ledger, photographed and notarized. Every dollar tracked. Then, the volunteer waivers Pastor Ruth had quietly collected 17 signatures, all dated. Finally, Pastor Ruth's letter on church stationery. The kindness chain represents the best of Harbor Point's tradition of neighbor helping neighbor. Ms. Hale participated as a private citizen and volunteer, not in any official capacity. This grassroots effort predates her involvement and will continue regardless. She added her own note. Board governance should reflect those we serve. I formally request 2 community seats be added, 1 from Harbor Point, 1 from the broader county. The community center pilot requires local leadership to succeed. Send. The reply came at 11:48. Not from Spencer, but from the board chair. Materials received, under review. No actions to be taken pending Thursday's quarterly meeting. Neither approval nor rejection. Just bureaucratic pause. Across town, Addie Marisol Vega sat with Elena at the small legal clinic's conference table. The formal HR notification had been sent at 12:15, requesting reasonable accommodations, a safe reporting pathway, and court-supervised paternity testing. They have 15 business days to respond, Marisol explained, but they usually acknowledge within 48 hours. The reply came faster. 12:52. Your request has been received and forwarded to the appropriate department for review. Elena read it 3 times, as if more words might appear. That's all? That's standard. They're buying time. While I lose mine. Elena pushed back from the table. Nico waited in the reception area, coloring with broken crayons from the kids' corner. Ready, mijo? Is it shots? I don't like shots. No shots. Just a special Q-tip for your cheek. Like when I had strep? Exactly like that. The lab occupied half a strip mall between a tax office and a bubble tea shop. Fluorescent lights made everyone look tired. Elena signed 4 forms while Nico studied a poster about DNA that looked like twisted ladder. That's inside me? Inside everyone, the tech said, professionally kind. She had the practiced gentleness of someone who'd collected samples from scared kids before. Open wide, like at the dentist. 2 swabs, right cheek, left cheek, Elena next. Everything labeled, sealed, witnessed. 3 to 5 business days for standard processing. The results go directly to the requesting attorney and the court. Elena nodded. 3 to 5 days to prove what she'd never wanted to prove. In the lobby, Addie stood from a plastic chair. You didn't have to come. You shouldn't have to do this alone. The hug was brief, but real. Addie had already arranged a rideshare, the good kind, with car seats. The driver's named Patricia, 5 stars, 3 kids of her own. The bus is fine. Please, let me do this small thing. Elena was too tired to argue about dignity versus kindness. By 5:30, normal life resumed its rhythm. Jay stood at the stove, teaching Maya to tell when salmon was done by how it flaked. See? Pulls apart but still moist. Mom used to say cooking was chemistry you could eat. She wasn't wrong. They ate at the small table, Maya reviewing her science notes while Jay sketched site layouts for tomorrow's school bid meeting. 3 bathroom renovations, ADA compliant. He'd need Miguel's crew for the tile work. His phone lit up with a weather alert, coastal storm warning. Tuesday evening through Wednesday morning. Wind gusts to 45 mph. Better secure the marina equipment tomorrow. Will the boats be okay? Boats, no storms. It's the stuff on land that causes problems. 7 miles away, Addie hunched over her laptop, drafting charter language by lamplight. Section 3. Governance. The Harbor Point Community Center Board shall consist of 7 members, all residing within the service area. No more than 2 members may have previous nonprofit board experience, ensuring fresh perspectives. She crossed out fresh perspectives, too corporate, ensuring community voice remains primary. Better. Section 4. Transparency. Monthly financial summaries shall be posted on the bulletin board at Dottie's Harbor Cup and the Church Fellowship Hall. No professional photographers or media consultants shall be engaged without unanimous board consent. Section 5. The No Optics Clause. Programs shall be evaluated solely on community impact, not publicity potential. No naming rights shall be sold. No plaques required for donations under 30-10-0. Thunder rumbled in the distance. The first drops hit her window. By 7:15, she'd sent the draft to Pastor Ruth and Dottie. The subject line read simply, "For Tuesday's review. Edits welcome." She closed the laptop and watched the rain begin in earnest, wondering if the weather was an omen or just weather. The marina bell tolled once for the coming storm. Tuesday morning brought the kind of gray light that made coffee essential. Jay pulled into Harbor Point High at 8:45, 15 minutes early for his meeting with Ron Clearwater, the facilities manager who'd called about the auditorium work. The job specs were straightforward: 32 seats needed, ADA-compliant modifications, new handrails throughout, 2 wheelchair ramps. Clean, honest work. Timeline's tight, Ron said, spreading blueprints across his cluttered desk. Spring concerts in 8 weeks. Doable with the right crew. That's what I hoped you'd say. But I should mention, Ron shifted in his chair. Some board members have concerns about contractors who might bring Complications. Jay kept his expression neutral. Complications? You know how school boards get. They hear things. They hear I do solid work on time and under budget. That too. Ron rolled up the blueprints. Submit your bid by Thursday noon. I'll push for you, but I can't promise anything. They shook hands. Jay knew that tone, the sound of someone wanting to do right but calculating costs. At the foundation offices, Addie hit send on the community center charter at 10:32. 7 pages of plain language. How decisions got made, who held the checkbook, why cameras stayed away. Through the glass wall, Spencer watched from his office. His expression reminded her of a chess player who'd spotted checkmate 6 moves ahead. By 11, he was on a call with Preston Communications, the crisis firm that had handled 3 senators' scandals and a pharmaceutical recall. I need a narrative review, Spencer said, pacing behind his desk. Small town, North Carolina. The foundation's CEO has been freelancing, compromising our position with inappropriate relationships. Define inappropriate. She's been meeting with a local contractor. Black single father. The optics alone will need footage. Working on it. There's a coffee shop, Friday morning meeting, and some kind of block party Sunday that wasn't sanctioned. Send everything you have. We'll construct a timeline. Spencer hung up and dialed the security company that serviced Dottie's Harbor Cup. Dottie noticed the stranger immediately. Pressed khakis and a polo shirt that screamed, "Not from here." He stood at the counter, smiling too wide. Beautiful little shop. How long have you been in business? Long enough. She didn't return the smile. I'm with Coastal Security Solutions. We're updating our client files. Need to verify some footage from last Friday morning. We're not your client. The foundation is. They've requested. They can request all they want. This is my shop. The man's smile tightened. It's a simple security matter. Then get a warrant. After he left, Dottie taped a handwritten sign next to the register. We protect neighbors. No exceptions. She texted Addie immediately. Addie forwarded it to Marisol Vega, who replied with a thumbs up and document everything. Maya felt her phone buzz during chemistry class. She checked under her desk. The parent portal had updated. Her callback was confirmed for Wednesday, 4 o'clock sharp. 2 songs required, 1 prepared, 1 sight-read. She screenshotted the confirmation and sent it to her dad with a heart emoji. His reply came quick. Proud of you already. She spent lunch period in the music room, running scales until her breath control felt solid. By 3:30, the weather had shifted from possibility to certainty. Jay stood in the hardware store, calculating sandbag needs. The apartment's back stairwell flooded in heavy rain, a design flaw the landlord called character. 20 bags should do it, he told Hank at the register. Storm's gonna be worse than they're saying. Feel it in my knee. Your knee's been predicting disasters since Vietnam. Been right more than wrong. Jay loaded the bags into his truck as the first real raindrops fell. Maya helped him stack them when he got home, creating a barrier that might actually work. Like building a fort? She said. Fort keep the carpet dry. They worked in comfortable rhythm, the kind that came from years of being a team. Spencer's assistant knocked at 7:15. We've got something. The video was shaky, clearly filmed through Dottie's window. Jay and Addie at a corner table, leaning close, her hand briefly touching his arm. No audio. But the angle made it look intimate, secretive, perfect. What else? Block party footage from 3 different phones. She's dancing with him. There's a moment where she whispers something in his ear. Spencer studied the freeze frame. Can we enhance it? Already done. Preston's team is cutting it together now. They'll have a package ready by morning. Schedule the drop for 7 a.m. Start with the Harbor Point Facebook groups, then Twitter. Make it look organic, concerned citizens, not us. That evening, rain traced patterns on windows throughout Harbor Point. Jay and Maya sat at the kitchen table, her voice filling the small space. When I'm worried and I cannot sleep. Good. but breathe from deeper. Your power comes from your belly, not your throat. She tried again. Better. Across town, Hattie called Elena. How's Nico handling everything? He knows something's wrong. Keeps asking why Mr. Spencer looked scared. Kids see everything. That's what worries me. They talked about homework, about the storm coming, about anything except the test results that would arrive by Friday. Spencer uploaded the final video package at 9:28. The title read, "Billionaire's Secret Romance? You decide." Outside, the marina bell rang twice for the strengthening storm. Everyone slept, unaware that by dawn, their faces would be traveling through keyboards and screens, transformed into a story they'd never chosen to tell. Wednesday morning broke ugly. Jay's phone buzzed at 6:45 while he scrambled eggs. Maya showed him the screen. A classmate had forwarded a video with laughing emojis. Your dad's gold-digging game is weak. The footage was everywhere, edited to make their Friday coffee look like a planned rendezvous. Comments rolled beneath like sewage. Turn it off. Jay kept his voice level. Dad, they're saying you. I know what they're saying. None of it changes who we are. His phone rang. The school district. Mr. Carter? We need to pause your vendor application pending a reputation review. A reputation review. It's standard when concerns arise. What concerns? I submitted a bid for handrails. The decision comes from above. We'll be in touch. After he hung up, Maya was crying. Not loud sobs, the quiet kind that hurt worse. Baby girl, I can't go to school. Yes, you can. We don't hide from lies. But the callback is at 4 o'clock. You'll sing like you practiced. Everything else is noise. He drove her to school, walked her to the entrance despite her protests, watched until she disappeared inside. Then sat in his truck and prayed not for the contract or the rumors to stop, but for the strength to model grace when his daughter needed to see it. Addie's laptop showed 17 new emails. The one from the board chair came with a red flag. Effective immediately, your discretionary spending authority is suspended pending emergency review. Avoid contact with all implicated parties. Implicated, like they'd committed crimes instead of kindness. Spencer had copied the entire board on his response. This protects the foundation's interests during a delicate period. 2 directors she'd considered allies sent private messages. Let this blow over. Distance yourself temporarily. She started typing a public statement, the truth about the kindness audit, Elena's dignity, Jay's character. Her cursor blinked over the send button when her general counsel called. Don't, not yet. People are being hurt. You'll hurt them more if you respond emotionally. The board meets Friday. Make your case then. By Friday. By Friday we'll have facts, not reactions. Elena found the notice at 11:15, 3 days to vacate. The letterhead matched the property management company that handled foundation vendor housing. She photographed it with steady hands, though Nico watched from the doorway. Are we moving? No, mijo, this is a mistake. Like when Mr. Spencer said he wasn't my daddy? The question hung between them. She knelt to his level. Some mistakes are bigger than others. Marisol Vega responded within minutes. This is textbook retaliation. Don't pack anything. Document everything. HR's email arrived at noon. Position under review. Workplace harmony concerns. Elena read it twice, then made lunch for Nico like any other Wednesday. The storm grew teeth by afternoon. Jay secured Mrs. Patterson's window latch while she fretted about the cost. No charge. Neighbors help neighbors. But with everything they're saying plenty. Doesn't make it true. He drove to the school early, wanting to be there when Maya arrived for her callback. The wind pushed his truck sideways twice. She came out at 3:30, chin high, but eyes red. Deep breaths, from your belly. Everyone knows. Everyone thinks they know. There's a difference. Inside the audition room she sang, "Lean on Me," with a clarity that made 2 judges look up from their scoring sheets. Her sight reading wavered only once. They walked out to find a printed notice taped to the lobby door. All Hail Foundation scholarship decisions postponed, pending donor governance review. Maya held it together until they reached the truck. Then the tears came, mixed with rain that hammered the windshield. Our worth isn't on review, Jay squeezed her hand. Not by them. Not by anyone. But I worked so hard. And that work is yours. They can't take what you've built inside yourself. By 7, the power flickered throughout Harbor Point. Addie loaded her car with batteries, water, blankets. At Elena's building, she helped carry essentials to the church basement, where Pastor Ruth had opened emergency shelter. Wind's gonna take out windows on the east side, Pastor Ruth directed volunteers. Cots go against the west wall. Jay arrived with Maya and 3 boxes of blankets from their apartment storage. He saw Addie in the corner, phone pressed to her ear, nodding at whatever her lawyer was saying, not speaking up, not fighting back. Their eyes met across the room. She started toward him, but her counsel grabbed her arm, shaking his head. Jay turned away, focused on setting up cots, serving soup, being useful when everything else felt useless. Elena helped Maya distribute blankets while Nico organized them by color, his way of managing chaos. The blue ones are softest, he announced. Then blue ones for the little kids, Maya decided. The marina bell rang constantly now, no longer marking time but warning against the wind that howled like accusation. Spencer, dry in his beachfront rental, refreshed his feeds. The narrative was holding. Comments trending exactly as planned. In the church basement, neighbors huddled close, but hearts stayed separate. Addie drafted statement after statement on her phone, deleting each one. Jay kept his back to her corner, though he felt her presence like a bruise. The lights went out at 9:20. Emergency lanterns cast shadows that made everyone look hollow. Outside, the storm screamed its worst intentions, while inside, silence grew heavier than wind. Thursday morning broke clear. Like the storm had washed Harbor Point's wounds clean. Power flickered back at 9:15, the church basement emptied slowly, neighbors helping neighbors carry sodden boxes back to damaged homes. Addie found Marisol Vega setting up a card table in Pastor Ruth's office. I need a protective order against foundation vendors retaliating against Elena. Today. Marisol pulled out her laptop. Already drafting. What else? A community forum. Tonight. 6 o'clock. Right here in the fellowship hall. That's aggressive timing. They wanted aggressive? They got it. Addie's voice carried steel she'd never used in boardrooms. 1 pool camera for press. Pastor Ruth moderates. The truth gets told. Spencer will face what he's done. Jay arrived at 10:30 with Maya, who'd insisted on helping despite missing school. They found Addie in the sanctuary, making lists on the back of a donation envelope. I need your statement about what you heard. The guards too. Maya doesn't need to, just you. And anyone else who witnessed Spencer with Elena. Their eyes met properly for the first time since last night. The hurt sat between them like a third person. You went quiet. I was wrong. No excuses. Just acknowledgement. My lawyers said wait, and I listened when I should have spoken. Maya tugged her father's sleeve. She's trying now. Jay studied Addie's face, saw exhaustion beneath determination. What do you need? Written statements, signed, dated, Dottie's ledger. Those waivers from Sunday. I'll get them. The fellowship hall still smelled like last night's soup when they reconvened at noon. Dottie arrived with a banker's box. Every receipt, every KC mark, 3 years of protecting neighbors when the big shots wouldn't. She pulled out a folder, and here's Tuesday's visitor. Some slick guy wanting my security footage. I told him to pound sand. Addie photocopied everything while Pastor Ruth made calls. We'll need chairs for 70, maybe more. Press? 1 camera. Pool feed if they want it. At 1:55, Marisol's phone rang. She stepped outside to take it, came back with her poker face cracking. The lab. Results are ready. Elena, helping sort documents, froze. Already? They said 3 to 5 days. Sometimes they're faster. Marisol grabbed her keys. I'll go alone unless I'm coming. Elena's voice stayed steady, though her hands shook. They returned at 3:20. Elena held the sealed envelope like it might explode. In Pastor Ruth's office, with only Addie, Jay, and Marisol present, she opened it. The words blurred, then focused. Probability of paternity. 99.9. 8%. Elena's tears came silent and heavy. Jay put a hand on her shoulder. Addie knelt beside her chair. It's your choice. What happens next is your decision. He needs to answer for abandoning Nico, for treating us like we're nothing. The forum? Yes. Elena wiped her face. But Nico stays home with my sister. No cameras on my boy. At 4:20, Addie composed an email to the board. Professional. Precise. Community forum tonight, 6:00 p.m., Harbor Point Methodist Fellowship Hall. Evidence regarding foundation governance concerns will be presented. Live feed available. Spencer's response came in 12 minutes. This constitutes defamation. Legal action will follow. Addie forwarded it to Marisol, who laughed. Truth is an absolute defense. 2 off-duty deputies arrived at 5:15, hired through proper channels. They positioned themselves by the doors, visible but not threatening. Just keep things peaceful, Marisol instructed. Yes, ma'am. Though this crowd doesn't look like trouble. Harbor Point was arriving. Not in their Sunday best, but in work clothes still damp from storm cleanup. They came anyway. Mrs. Patterson saved 3 seats in the front row. For Elena. She shouldn't sit alone. The youth choir practiced scales in the corner, Maya among them, humming to settle nerves. Network affiliates sent one cameraman who set up in the back corner, grumbling about sharing footage. Pool feed means pool feed, Pastor Ruth reminded him. Dottie arranged her evidence on a table like preparing for battle. The ledger, the waivers. 3 years of protecting neighbors documented in blue ink. At 5:40, 3 board members entered. Not Spencer, not the chairman, but 3 who'd stayed silent came to witness. Elena arrived at 5:45, wearing the same black dress from Sunday's block party. Clean, pressed, dignified. Where's Nico? Making cookies with my sister. He thinks it's a special treat. Jay stood near the door, watching the room fill. Addie approached him, holding a folder. Your statements in here? Everything I saw. Everything I heard. Thank you. This isn't for you. I know. The marina bell rang 6 o'clock. Pastor Ruth stepped to the podium as the last folding chair filled. Rain had stopped. The air through open windows smelled like wet pine and possibility. Marisol stepped to the podium with a manila folder thick as a hymnal. The room settled into church quiet. 3 days ago, Elena Ruiz filed for workplace accommodations through proper channels. She opened the folder. Within 12 hours, she received this. The HR email appeared on the projection screen Pastor Ruth had borrowed from the youth group. Position under review. Conduct impacting workplace harmony. Yesterday morning, this appeared on her door. The eviction notice filled the screen. 3-day warning. The landlord's signature clear at the bottom, a foundation vendor who donated to the last gala. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Mrs. Patterson shook her head. Someone in back muttered about shame. This pattern has a name. Retaliation. It's illegal. Marisol lifted a sealed envelope. The lab's logo caught the overhead light. On Monday, following proper chain of custody procedures, samples were submitted for paternity testing. The results arrived today. She broke the seal in front of everyone. Read the clinical language that reduced lives to percentages. Spencer Ward is confirmed as the biological father of Nicholas Ruiz. Probability, 99.98%. The silence lasted 3 heartbeats. Then Elena stood, not dramatic, just standing like she'd done it 1,000 times before. Someone handed her the wireless mic. I want peace for my son. Her voice carried without shouting. 8 years, I've asked for nothing. Not money, not recognition, just peace. That's all." She sat. The applause started soft, Mrs. Patterson first, then spreading row by row. Not celebration, acknowledgement. Addie took the podium next. No notes. She'd memorized what mattered. "The foundation has failed Harbor Point. We've treated you as photo opportunities instead of partners. That changes now." She outlined the restructure. Local board, local control. Dottie would chair, Pastor Ruth. The school counselor who'd advocated for Maya's choir program. 2 rotating seats elected every year at town meetings. No more decisions made in glass offices about lives lived on Main Street. The banker's box sat on the table, evidence of what community care looked like without corporate oversight. Effective immediately after board ratification, I'm resigning my unilateral spending authority. The Harbor Point Community Board will control its own budget. Board member Patricia Chen, sitting in row 3, took notes on her phone. The other 2 watched without expression. Additionally, an independent trust will be established for Nicholas Ruiz. Third-party administration, Elena as sole guardian. Spencer Ward will have no access or authority. Dottie nodded approval. This was proper process. Protection with paperwork. The fellowship hall door banged open at 6:47. Spencer entered like weather, sudden and disruptive. A young woman in PR Perfect Navy followed, already recording on her phone. This is a stunt. He didn't need a microphone. Projection came natural to men like him. Character assassination disguised as community service. He strode toward the podium, stopped when the deputy shifted position. Not threatening, just present. I categorically deny these allegations, any suggestion of impropriety. Mr. Ward, Marisol held up the lab report. Certified results. Would you like to review them? The crowd leaned forward. Someone's folding chair creaked. Fabricated. My lawyers will. Sir, Pastor Ruth's voice cut through, gentle but firm. You're welcome here. This is a place of grace. But grace requires truth. She gestured to the side table where Sunday school kids had left artwork. Nico's crayon drawing sat on top a house, 2 figures holding hands, a sun with uneven rays. That boy deserves acknowledgement. His mother deserves respect. You have an opportunity to apologize, to cooperate, to make this right. Spencer's face flushed red, then white. The PR woman tugged his sleeve. We're leaving. God bless you on your way, Pastor Ruth replied. He stormed past the children's artwork without looking. His shoulder knocked the table. Nico's drawing fluttered to the floor. Maya picked it up, smoothed the wrinkles, set it back carefully. The door slammed behind them. Chairs scraped as people stood to leave. Conversations sprouted in small clusters, not gossip, but planning. Mrs. Patterson already recruiting for tomorrow's support presence. The choir kids stacking hymnals. Addie found Jay by the coffee station, helping Pastor Ruth pack unused cups. Will you stand with me tomorrow? He studied her face. The public apology had been real. The governance plan concrete. But trust, once cracked, needed time to reset. The board votes at 11? Yes. Foundation headquarters. They'll expect protesters or press. What do you expect? Resistance. Spencer's not done. But Patricia Chen took notes. That matters. Jay sealed the coffee tin, precise movements while thinking, I'll be there. But not for you. For Elena. For this town. I understand. Maya appeared with the salvaged drawing. Can I give this to Nico? Tomorrow, Elena answered, joining them. After we file the papers, after it's official. Attorney Vega checked her watch. 8:55. Courthouse opens at 9. We file the petition, first thing. The fellowship hall emptied slowly. People lingered like they did after good sermons, reluctant to leave the warmth of shared purpose. Friday would bring the board vote. The official challenge. The institutional response to human need. But tonight Harbor Point had spoken with one voice. Protect the vulnerable. Demand accountability. Make tomorrow better than today. Friday morning arrived crisp and clear, the storm's debris already swept into neat piles along Harbor Point streets. At 10:45, Jay parked his truck behind the Foundation's granite building. Elena sat beside him, hands folded over the petition they'd filed at 9 sharp. "Ready?" "No." She smoothed her best blouse. "But ready enough." The lobby gleamed with donor names etched in glass. Maya had stayed at school, normal day, normal classes. Protection through routine. Addie waited by the elevators with Attorney Vega, dark circles under her eyes, but her spine straight. They're already assembled. Spencer's fighting to exclude the DNA evidence. Let him fight. Marisol adjusted her briefcase. Facts don't need his permission. The boardroom smelled like leather and coffee. 6 directors sat around the polished table. Patricia Chen in person, taking handwritten notes. 2 others physically present. 3 faces on the wall-mounted screen, joining from New York, Atlanta, and Chicago. Spencer occupied his usual seat, legal counsel beside him. His tie was perfect. His hands weren't they kept adjusting his portfolio, his pen, the water glass. Board Chair William Morrison called the meeting to order at 11:02. "Ms. Hale, you have the floor." Addie stood without notes. "I failed this Foundation's mission. I prioritized perception over people. I allowed systemic harm while conducting a vanity project disguised as assessment. No hedge words. No deflection. The Harbor Point community showed me what genuine service looks like. They deserve local control of local resources. I'm proposing immediate restructure." She detailed the plan. Community board. Transparent budgets. Elena's reinstatement. The trust for Nico. "This isn't charity, it's correction," Spencer's counsel whispered urgently. Spencer shook his head, then stood. "Point of order. The alleged paternity matter is personal, not institutional. It has no bearing on Foundation governance." "Mr. Ward." Patricia Chen's voice carried quiet authority. "You ordered HR to review Ms. Ruiz's position after her son's disclosure. You authorized surveillance of Foundation beneficiaries. You leaked edited footage to damage reputations. These are institutional actions." The Chicago screen unmuted. "I'd like to see the evidence." Marisol opened her briefcase with practiced calm. Lab reports. HR emails. The eviction notice with its vendor connection. Spencer's own messages threatening professional repercussions. Each document passed hand to hand. The room grew heavier with each page. "The pattern is clear," Marisol stated. "Retaliation designed to silence a vulnerable employee and her child." The Atlanta director, Dr. James Thornton, leaned forward on screen. "Spencer, do you deny paternity?" "The test was conducted without my consent." "That's not what I asked." Silence stretched. Spencer's counsel touched his arm, a warning or permission. "Unclear. I don't recognize its validity. Motion to remove Spencer Ward as CFO for breach of fiduciary duty and conduct unbecoming Foundation values." Patricia Chen didn't raise her voice. "Didn't need to." "Second, came from Chicago." Morrison called the vote. "All in favor?" 6 hands raised. Spencer didn't vote on his own removal conflict of interest, finally acknowledged. Motion carries. "Mr. Ward, please surrender your credentials and devices to security." Spencer stood slowly, straightening papers that didn't need straightening. "This is a mistake." The optics, Dr. Thornton interrupted from his screen, "are that we protected an abuser and punished a whistleblower. That ends today." Security appeared at the door, not dramatic, just present. Spencer left without looking at Elena. The remaining business moved quickly. Motion to lift the scholarship freeze. Morrison called for discussion. "These are children," Patricia said simply. "They've waited long enough." Unanimous approval. Motion to approve Harbor Point community governance with immediate pilot funding of $500,000. "That's a significant reallocation," the New York director noted. "It's a fraction of what we spend on galas," Addie countered. "And it goes directly to need, not networking. Discussion lasted 12 minutes. The vote, 5 in favor, 2 abstaining. Motion to acknowledge the independent trust for Nicholas Ruiz with matching foundation contribution. This protects the child and limits our liability. Legal counsel advised. Unanimous approval. Even the abstainers recognized necessity. Finally, Addie's voluntary restructure. She would remain a board member but surrender check-signing authority for Harbor Point programs. You're giving up significant power, Morrison observed. I'm giving it to the people who understand the need. Approved, without dissent. At 12:15, Morrison adjourned the meeting. Directors scattered to lunch appointments and airport shuttles. Patricia Chen stopped beside Elena in the hallway. I'm sorry we failed you. The board, I mean. We should have seen. Elena nodded. What else was there to say? Marisol's phone buzzed. HR just sent reinstatement confirmation. Full back pay. Formal apology for process failures. Another buzz. Jay checked his phone, the charter school's update. Scholarships would release Monday as originally scheduled. They descended to the lobby in silence, processing the weight of institutional change. Outside, Dottie's awning beckoned from across the square. Coffee? Pastor Ruth suggested. She'd been waiting in her station wagon, windows down, gospel radio low. Community center, Hattie said instead. It's time to open those doors. Jay looked at her, this billionaire in yesterday's blazer, asking permission without words. You got the keys? Maintenance has them. They're meeting us there. Noon sun broke through the last clouds. The storm had passed completely, leaving Harbor Point washed and ready. They walked toward Main Street together, the handyman, the heiress, the housekeeper, the pastor. Tomorrow would bring paperwork and process. Monday would bring Maya's results. But this afternoon had work to do. The community center's lobby hadn't seen this much light in 3 years. Afternoon sun streamed through windows Jay had cleaned that morning, illuminating dust motes that danced like celebration confetti. Let's keep this simple. Dottie pulled a yellow legal pad from her tote bag. We're not the old board playing politics. We're neighbors fixing problems. They'd arranged 5 folding chairs in a circle, no head table, no hierarchy. Pastor Ruth poured sweet tea from a thermos while Ms. Chen spread intake forms across a card table. First order of business. Dottie clicked her pen. We need someone to run the physical space, maintenance, scheduling, youth programs. I nominate Jay Carter. Ms. Chen didn't hesitate. He knows every pipe and wire in this building. More importantly, the kids trust him. Second, Pastor Ruth added. But Jay, you speak for yourself. What would you need? Jay shifted in the metal chair. Hours that work around Maya's school schedule. Can't be here past 6 on weekdays. She needs dinner and homework help. Part-time to start, Dottie wrote carefully. 25 hours weekly at $28 per hour. Scales to full-time as programs grow. Benefits kick in at 30 hours. That's above the town's median wage, Ms. Chen noted approvingly. Sets the right standard. All in favor? 4 hands raised. Jay abstained from voting on his own position, learning already from the morning's board meeting. Motion carries. Welcome aboard, officially. Jay nodded, throat tight. Steady income. Benefits eventually. Maya could get the dental work she'd been putting off. They worked through the logistics systematically. Pastor Ruth would coordinate volunteers. Ms. Chen would handle youth program referrals from the schools. Dottie would manage the books with the same transparency she brought to the cafe ledger. Sunday town hall at 2 o'clock, Dottie continued. We elect 2 rotating community seats. Nominations from the floor, paper ballots, counted publicly. Keep it honest, Pastor Ruth agreed. No campaigns, no speeches, longer than 2 minutes. What about the foundation? Ms. Chen asked. Their role going forward? Funding and distance. Dottie's tone was firm. They write checks, we write programs. Monthly reports for accountability, but they don't direct operations. Through the open door, they could hear hammering. Volunteers from the morning's work crew installing coat hooks in the entrance. The building coming alive again. Free clinic table tomorrow? Pastor Ruth checked her notes. Nurse Hendricks confirmed she'll do blood pressure checks and medication consultations. Job board's ready. Ms. Chen held up a corkboard. Already got 17 postings from local businesses, everything from dock work to bookkeeping. And Maya's organizing a choir pop-up at 4. Jay added. 6 kids from school. They've been practicing all week. The meeting wrapped efficiently. No drama, no grandstanding. Just neighbors solving problems. Addie found Jay in the supply room afterward, checking the ancient boiler's pressure gauge. The space smelled like rust and possibility. It held up through the storm, he said without turning. Things older than both of us combined, but it's solid. Like the town. He faced her then. She'd traded the blazer for jeans and a Harbor Point Marina t-shirt someone had handed her, paint splatter on her sleeve from helping with the bathroom refresh. I keep waiting for cameras to show up, she admitted, for this to become about me again instead of... She gestured toward the lobby's activity. Then we don't let it. That simple? Has to be. Jay wiped his hands on a work cloth. Minute we make it complicated, we lose what matters. She leaned against the doorframe. I've been thinking about what you said. About earning things. Yeah? I want to earn this. Us. Whatever this becomes. She met his eyes. No grand gestures, no billionaire nonsense. Just porch talks and shared work? Exactly. The boiler clanged softly, settling into its rhythm. Through the walls, they could hear Dottie directing traffic, volunteers laughing, life returning to abandoned spaces. Sunday dinners, Jay offered. You, me, Maya. Nothing fancy. Spaghetti and conversation. I'd like that. And Tuesday, community meetings. Thursday, food pantry shifts. Building something real. Neither moved closer. The space between them held promise without pressure. But when Addie's hand brushed his reaching for the gauge chart, neither pulled away. Fingers intertwined, briefly working hands finding each other. The supply room door stood open. Anyone could see. That was the point. We should help with the computer lab setup, Jay said finally, though his hand lingered in hers. 5 more minutes? Yeah. They stood together in the small room that smelled of fresh paint and lemon cleaner from the morning's deep clean. No kiss, no dramatic declaration. Just 2 people choosing to build something careful and true. By 5 o'clock, the center hummed with purpose. The computer lab had 6 refurbished stations. The meeting room had stackable chairs and fresh white boards. The kitchen had a new coffee maker, Dottie's donation, and a refrigerator that actually held temperature. Open house tomorrow at 3. Addie typed into the community text chain. Free clinic table, job board, choir pop-up. Come as you are. She included the church's number for questions, not her own. Let the institution hold the spotlight. Ms. Chen taught 2 volunteers the intake system. Pastor Ruth blessed the pantry shelves. Jay adjusted the thermostat for tomorrow's crowd. Lock-up time, Dottie announced at dusk. Rest tonight. Tomorrow we serve. They filed out together, Jay checking each lock twice from habit. The marina bell chimed 6 o'clock, not warning this time, just marking time in a town finding its rhythm again. See you tomorrow? Addie asked at the parking lot's edge. 3 o'clock sharp. Jay? She turned back. Thank you. For showing me what kindness looks like without cameras. He touched his cap brim, that old-fashioned gesture Maya teased him about, just returning the favor. Someone did it for me once. They drove separate ways as night settled gentle over Harbor Point. Tomorrow would bring crowds and questions. Monday would bring Maya's scholarship news. But tonight the center stood ready, windows glowing with promise, waiting to serve. 3 o'clock arrived with a stream of neighbors. No fancy ribbon cutting. Just Dottie propping the doors wide with wooden wedges Jay had carved that morning. Blood pressure stations this way, Mrs. Patterson. Nurse Hendricks guided the elderly woman to a corner table draped with a checkered cloth. Been taking your medication regular? Across the lobby, a young father in a faded hornet's cap studied the job board. His toddler squirmed in his arms. "Need help with that resume?" Ms. Chen appeared beside him with a clipboard. "We've got time slots all next week. Can't pay much. No charge. Community supporting community." The man's shoulders dropped, relief plain on his face. He signed up for Tuesday morning, printing his name careful and clear. Jay stood near the entrance, greeting folks and directing traffic. A grizzled man in a Vietnam veteran cap stopped short when he saw him. "Carter, that you?" "Mr. Kowalski." Jay extended his hand. "Good to see you, sir. None of that, sir, business. It's just Ted." The older man surveyed the bustling space. "Heard you're running this place now." "Part of a team." Ted grunted approval. "Still got those woodworking tools from my shop. Arthritis makes them hard to use, but I could teach. Run a circle maybe, once a week. Get these kids off their phones, working with their hands. Thursday mornings work?" "Perfect." Ted's weathered face creased into a rare smile. "Good to have purpose again." By 4 o'clock, the main room had filled. Pastor Ruth stepped to the portable microphone, tapping it once. "Before we hear from our young singers, let me name who will be serving you through this center." She read slowly, clearly. "Dorothy Pierce, our board chair. Ms. Amy Chen from the high school. Myself as spiritual advisor. And 2 rotating seats we'll elect tomorrow night because this belongs to all of us. Now, Maya Carter and friends have prepared something special." Maya stepped forward with 5 other teenagers. No fancy costumes. Just their school clothes and nervous smiles. She found Jay's eyes in the crowd, and he nodded that small gesture that said, "You've got this." The first notes of "Lean on Me" rose clear and true. Maya's voice had grown stronger since the audition, steadied by purpose instead of pressure. One by one, voices joined from the crowd. Mr. Kowalski's rough baritone, Mrs. Patterson's wavering soprano, parents bouncing babies on their hips, swaying to the familiar rhythm. Sometimes in our lives, we all have pain, we all have sorrow. Addie stood near the back, singing soft, watching the room transform into something bigger than programs and budgets. This was what she'd been searching for, not her name on a building, but voices joined in common cause. When the song ended, the applause came warm and long. Maya's cheeks flushed pink, but she didn't duck away. She stood tall, accepting what she'd earned. "One more person needs to speak," Pastor Ruth said. Elena Ruiz walked to the microphone with the dignity that had carried her through everything. She smoothed her skirt, adjusted the mic height, and looked out at the faces, some familiar, some new, all waiting. "En español primero, para mi gente." Her voice carried steady. "Esta comunidad eligió la compasión sobre el espectáculo. Cuando algunos querían historias, ustedes ofrecieron apoyo. Cuando algunos querían drama, ustedes dieron dignidad." She switched to English, each word deliberate. "This community chose compassion over spectacle. When some wanted stories, you offered support. When some wanted drama, you gave dignity." Her eyes found Spencer's former allies in the crowd, 2 foundation board members who'd come to witness the center's launch. "My son is safe. Our home is secure, not because of lawsuits or settlements, but because neighbors decided to be neighbors," someone sniffled. Mrs. Patterson dabbed her eyes with a handkerchief. "Thank you," Elena said simply. "Gracias." The room erupted, not performance applause, but something deeper: recognition, respect, of community, claiming its own. The next hour flew. Tom Morrison from Morrison Construction cornered Jay near the supply room. "Need materials for that wheelchair ramp out front. I've got lumber left from a canceled job. Half price, but don't spread that around." "Tom, that's generous, but nothing. My mom could use that ramp." "Call it self-interest." By the tutoring sign-up table, Addie printed her name carefully. "Addison, Saturday mornings, math and computer basics." "Last name?" the volunteer asked. "Just Addison." "Like Cher?" "Something like that." The volunteer shrugged and moved to the next line. Outside, Frank from Harbor Grocery wheeled in a hand truck of fresh produce. "Weekly donation," he announced. "Whatever doesn't sell by Thursday, still good eating, just not pretty enough for the front displays." "Frank, that's—" Dottie started. "Good business. These folks shop at my store when they can afford to. I help when they can't. Circle of life." Through the open doors the marina bell rang once. Fair weather. Clear sailing. Cleanup ran quick with many hands. Chairs stacked and wiped. Floors swept. Sign-up sheets collected and organized. "Town hall tomorrow," Pastor Ruth reminded everyone. 6 o'clock. "We'll elect those rotating board seats. Bring your neighbors." People filtered out carrying flyers, sharing phone numbers, making plans. The young father with the resume appointment bounced his toddler on his hip, looking lighter. Mrs. Patterson scheduled a Tuesday blood pressure follow-up. Ted Kowalski measured the workshop space with practiced eyes. "Good day," Dottie declared, locking the door at sunset. "Good start." Jay walked Maya to their truck, her choir folder tucked under her arm. "You did brave today," he said. "Felt different than the audition. Like it mattered more but weighed less. That's the secret. When it's not about you, you can give everything." They drove home through streets, still buzzing with conversation. Porch lights glowing. Neighbors lingering over fences, extending the afternoon's warmth. Tomorrow would bring the town hall. Democracy in action. Monday would deliver Maya's scholarship news. But tonight, Harbor Point rested easy. The center stood ready. The work had begun. The hum of early morning conversations filled Dottie's cafe. Waitresses navigated crowded tables. Customers murmured over steaming cups of coffee. Jay stood at the counter, reaching into his pocket for change, while a young woman by the register fumbled and flushed as her card failed. No, I've got it," he said, gesturing smoothly to the register, effortless as breathing. Surprised, the woman blinked. "Oh, I couldn't." "Just pass it on," Jay replied, his smile light but assuring, leaving no name, no expectations. From across the room, Addie caught the exchange. Her heart lifted at the reflection of that first kindness she'd once tested. Setting a tray on the counter from the open house, she reached into her pocket for a single daisy and slipped it into the tip jar, a nod to Dottie's knowing wink. "Full circle," Dottie whispered, watching the scene with a mix of pride and tenderness. Jay nodded and was out the door, onto a new day with promise in every step. At home, Jay perched on the couch, Maya at his side. Nervous energy vibrated through her. Jay's own heart echoed the sentiment. Together, they refreshed the parent portal again. Maya's hope painted across her face as the page loaded. Scholarship awarded. Maya stared for a breathless second, then gasped, her joy undeniable. Tears welling and spilling over. She fell into Jay's arms, laughter breaking through the tears. "Dad, we did it." Closing his eyes, Jay offered a silent prayer of thanks, relief, and gratitude coursing through him, an affirmation of faith, of their unwavering bond. Addie's phone pinged. A message from the board's secretary. The Harbor Point Pilots funds had been approved, and the Independent Trust for Nico was finally active. Relief lifted her like a buoy on the water. At the community center's threshold, the three of them converged. Maya clutching her acceptance printout like the promise of tomorrow it was. Jay with his facilities, mentorship badge clipped to his pocket, and Addie with her sleeves rolled up, ready for whatever the day called for. Elena and Nico approached, a box of crayons in hand for the kids' corner. The sight of it, just crayons, spoke of more than play. It spoke of potential, of roots taking hold. Pastor Ruth stood nearby with a gentle smile, ringing a small handheld bell. "Mercy, with work gloves," she intoned, echoing a truth they had all come to live by. Laughter and hugs filled the air, mingled with whispered prayers and the low call of gulls wheeling over the calm harbor sky. Jay moved to prop open the center's door, the sunlight spilling across the floor like a promise, inviting the next neighbor in. In that moment, kindness wasn't an event. It was the rule, a living, breathing hope. If you enjoyed the story, I handpicked this next story that you will enjoy. Please don't miss this one. Click here to watch it.